Should Eddie Howe be worried about his job at Newcastle United, or are us fans just overreacting to a rough patch? Now, Eddie Howe has been the man leading Newcastle United's resurgence, turning them from relegation candidates into a club competing at the top end of the table. But now, with mixed results and growing pressure, the question is starting to surface again. Is Eddie Howe the man to take Newcastle United forward? Has Eddie Howe took Newcastle as far as he can? Well, in this video, I'm going to kind of break everything down for you. So please do me a massive favour before we get into that. Please smash that like button, and it would be an honour if you would subscribe and join my YouTube channel for other videos we've got in the future. Not just Newcastle United content. We've got other football content discussing other topics. So please join us. But let's get into the video. Lately, Newcastle United haven't quite looked the same team. They haven't looked like that team that stormed into the Champions League in the 2022-2023 season, or even the 24-25 season, that team that won a League Cup for the first time in 70 years and stormed into the 5th place to get Champions League again. Now, if you look at things like performances this season, they've been very, very inconsistent. Results have dipped, and I think injuries have played a huge part. Things like losing Bruno before derbies and in the Champions League, things like that. But I think key players have been missing, and we've exposed a lack of depth, in my opinion, after a huge summer of signings. And now some fans are kind of questioning Eddie Howe and his tactical flexibility, the players he wants to sign. A lot of questions and a lot of uncertainty, as we're saying, just going around in circles at Newcastle United at the moment on X, or even Newcastle fans that you might speak to. So, obviously, there's a lot of pressure that comes with expectation. And Eddie Howe he's been amazing at Newcastle United. And again, he's probably got Champions League too early. He's probably won a cup too early. But he's a great manager, and that's why. And this isn't a Newcastle United team of the past where they're fighting to stay up. This is a team that is expected to compete with the very best. And when results don't match them expectations, naturally, scrutiny follows that. What I would say is, on the flip side, criticism isn't coming from nowhere with this Newcastle team. And it's not just the manager. A lot of stuff's been popped on the manager, but it's not just the manager. Some of the things he's done, I think, are wrong. But let's kind of go into Newcastle United on a performance basis right now. Newcastle have become so predictable this season. But, like, things like we're struggling to break opponents down, aka teams that deploy a low block but can't break them down, or teams that kind of give it away we've really struggled with this year. And that's probably why people are questioning Eddie Howe and if he can take Newcastle to this next level. Now, I think Eddie Howe, in my opinion, I'm going to tell you what I want to do now. I want to keep Eddie Howe and give him another summer, because Eddie Howe, in my opinion, is still the man. I stick with the manager who built the foundation instead of looking elsewhere, because I think Eddie Howe is 100%, as I said, he's the right man for this job. He had a rough transfer window, but what I would say is he's had a few transfer windows where he's had no CEO. I said that really weird there. He's had no director of football. He's had nothing to work with, just him and his nephew, which is crazy when you think about it. And a lot of signings they've got right. Let's just look at some of the obvious ones. Alexander Isak, Malik Chow, if we want to talk about this summer. In my opinion as well, Jacob Ramsey, when we've signed him this summer. Lewis Hall, Livramento, Anthony Gordon, Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali. A lot of signings have worked out. Don't get us wrong. But a lot of signings haven't. It's this season. Wissa, Voltemada, Elanga. A lot of names I can just start reeling off this season. And I think one bad season doesn't define Eddie Howe. And I think a lot of our fans, I don't want to be harsh here, but I think have short memory. Now, you are well in your rights. If you want a new manager, you're well in your rights to do that. And you can criticise him, because I've criticised some of the decisions made this year. Voltemada hasn't played up front enough. Voltemada shouldn't be playing in midfield. Jacob Ramsey should be playing. There's been games where Ben shouldn't have been playing for a long time. Gordon should have been dropped at times. Bonds should have been dropped at times. There's been a lot of things where Elanga should have played a bit more, and probably reeled his confidence not playing for a long time. So there's a lot of questions, and it's up in the air, his future. He's come out today and he said basically what he said is there's a lot of fire in his belly, and he is the man to take Newcastle forward next season. And I 100% agree with that. If you just go back to when Eddie Howe first came into this club, he saved us from relegation. He's improved players massively. Let's just name a few of them. Miguel Almiron had that wonderful purple patch against, when Eddie Howe was his manager. He won Player of the Month, man. He won Player of the Month. You've got Jacob Murphy, wonderful season he had last year. He improved Alexander Isak. Come on, Fabian Shaw, massive improvement for Fabian Shaw under Eddie Howe. Anthony Gordon, what a player Eddie Howe's made him. So, Dan Burn, I think Dan Burn went up a level when we signed him with Eddie Howe's management. So, I think he's a great manager. He's had a dip this season, and I think he'll get it right, because I think if results improve, this conversation that we're having, and we've been having for weeks, and we're having right now, disappears very quickly. But if the inconsistency continues, then I think it's only right that the noise around Eddie Howe's position will get louder, and the hierarchy might feel like they're forced to make a big decision. Now, what I think hasn't helped is you have the CEO, David Hopkins, coming out a couple of weeks ago, basically saying that, he kind of said, he's not saying he's going, Eddie Howe's going, but he's not saying he's staying, which I think has made a lot more noise around the club. That didn't have to happen, but it happened. But I think Eddie Howe will get it right. Now, what I want to kind of go into in this video, in this next segment, is what we've done I'm going to go through that in a moment. Let me just park that a second. I'm going to go through Eddie Howe's proving to elevate Newcastle, but the question is, can he sustain it now? Can he get back to what would do best? Because we're going to stick with him long term. But now let's move into the next part of the video, where I want to go through team sheets of Newcastle United. I want to go through kind of what we're seeing in the last game, what I would like to see in possession, out of possession, and things like that going forward. So let's quickly just flip this. There we go. So this team you see right now is the team that was fielded against Crystal Palace. So you had Aaron Ramsdale, Lewis Hall, Botman, Chow, Livramento. You had Tonali sitting here. You had Joe Linton. You had Lewis Miley back from his injury. You had Gordon. You had Jacob Murphy, who was captain. And you had William Asula up front, who ended up getting the goal when he poked it in. So that was the team we fielded against Crystal Palace. Now, what I would say is this back five is definitely our best back five. In my opinion, leaps and bounds the best. I think, obviously, there's no left back that can challenge him. I do think he is now a bit better than Trippier. He's amazing. I think he's better than Burn, and he's our best goalkeeper I've got at the club. Now, in terms of midfield, obviously he's the number 8, but he's been playing number 6. He's our best number 6 at the club. I disagreed with, I kind of disagreed with this. I kind of thought Ramsey was harsh to be shoved out the team after being in the team for so long. Now, I understand why Joe Linton plays, because he's physicality. He knows what Eddie Howe wants. These have a good connection. I thought Miley was quite decent, actually. He got the assist as well, I think. So Miley was quite decent. But for me, I would have rather seen this, because I know what he can do with the ball. Like, just if we're going in transition, Ramsey can pick up the ball here, but he can run. And then you'll have Joe Linton probably picking up space here. Tonali will be moving up. You'll have Livramento probably coming inside. Murphy will probably be somewhere here. You'll have Livramento here. Sula will be waiting. Gordon will probably be cutting in. Lewis Hall will be overlapping here. Probably put Joe Linton here. Ramsey will occupy this space. Ramsey will come from here. We'll move the centre backs up, because it's going to kill my OCD. And then Ramsdale will sit on the edge of the D. This is kind of what I see Ramsey doing. Ramsey can pick up the ball here. Tonali can give him the ball here. And Ramsey can run with the ball. Get the ball into Murphy. He can put a cross in for Asula to boom, put the ball in the box, like Miley put the ball in for Asula to score. Or Gordon can come in, he can score a goal. You've seen Gordon pick up positions this season where a ball's been put in. Gordon comes in against Barcelona and scores a goal. Now that's where I can see Newcastle United. That's why I think Ramsey would have fitted in, because obviously if you go and switch it back to Lewis Miley a second, the way we scored the goal is, I'll just say Murphy was here. Miley was here with the ball. He puts the ball in the box and Asula scores. So Miley surely can do that, but I don't think Miley can do what Ramsey does, what Ramsey's energy is, because Ramsey can do anything. As I said, he can pick up the ball with his back to the goal, spin a man, boom. pick a pass. He can run forward with the ball. That's what I like about Jacob Ramsey. Now, that's why I think his team selection was wrong. I wouldn't have mind seeing Ramsey and Miley together with Tonali sitting deep. Now, we could have experimented that. Obviously, it's not Bruno's fault that he can't play because he's been injured. You've got, where is he? You've got Joe Willock. He was available. Barnes. Wissam, Voltemada. Now, Wissam, Voltemada just proves like they're not rated. Like, he clearly doesn't rate them enough to play them over Asula. Or maybe he has Asula very, very high on his list of players. But I think Alanga should have played over Murphy. I think Alanga's better. You paid that money. I think you've got to get the best out of him. He's fast. And the way we played against Palace in the second half probably would have suited Alanga anyways. So that was the team that were fielded against Crystal Palace. Now moving on to this team here. Now this is the team I want to see Newcastle United field. And I'm going to show you the why. I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to show you the out of possession and in possession with the ball going forward. So I'm going to show you that. But we'll start with this. So Ramsdale, as I said, he's our best goalkeeper. Lewis Hall has the ability to come inside with the ball all the way through here. Always got the ability to overlap. You see that quite a lot with Lewis Hall. Very active around these areas here, Lewis Hall. Now, if Lewis Hall can pick up a space here, Gordon can boom, or Gordon can come in, and Lewis Hall can run down the wing. Gordon can be here. If Voltemada's there, if Alanga's there. Now, that's 3 of your attacking front line because we play a 4-3-3. That's 3 of your attackers there, and you could have potential Ramsey coming in behind. Now, that's why I think Lewis Hall is our best left back. I think pretty easy explanation there. I think every Newcastle fan kind of knows how Lewis Hall plays. Now, in terms of Livramento's game, obviously, to say, for example, we're attacking in an attacking phase. So let's put these here to say Ramsey's there, Bruno's here. Livramento can come in here and he can play, kind of come in midfield and invert. This is what I think Livramento's best at, because I think Livramento at times does overlap, but he never puts a cross in like Lewis Hall. If Livramento overlaps, I guarantee the ball goes to Alanga. Livramento comes back here. Alanga run here. Livramento go here. We'll swap position again. And then the ball end up coming to Bruno here. That's kind of what Livramento does a lot that I find. He just never crosses it. He does. I say it, my friends, he does a whole load of nothing at times, in my opinion. Where he can look after the ball, but he doesn't do a lot with it. Now, these two, I think that's our best defensive partnership. When he's not injured, he's absolutely amazing. When he's fully fit, he's class, and he's getting over that hill of injury now. Now, he hasn't been the best last few weeks, but he's played a lot of games of football. He's probably burnt out, but he is class, in my opinion. He's probably our best centre-back. Now, in terms of Tonali, as I said earlier, he can play in the 6, he can play in the 8, he can do anything, but he's been playing in the 6 for us. I do think in the 8 he'd be a bit more effective because you're kind of lacking a bit of his passing range and splitting the lines, but again, we've got nobody who can play this role. So Bruno can play, but Bruno's not effective. Tonali's better than Bruno there, and I think Bruno's better playing here anyways. Ramsey, I've already explained, he can turn, he can do everything, go back and forwards. Obviously Gordon, I think Barnes is a better finisher, but Gordon's pace, press, do everything. Alanga, for me, more of his pace, paid 55 million for him, he's got to play, and I just think he's a better footballer than Jacob Murphy. And then Voltemada, he's a record signing. He showed signs at the start of the season. He's amazing. He's so good, but we don't play it with strengths. Now, I think I've got, in transition, I think I made a slide where how I would utilise Voltemada in this Newcastle system. So we'll move on to that in a moment. But that is the team I would play. Now, in possession, this team here, let me see. Oh, sorry. No. We'll move on to... Well, actually, what we'll do is we'll leave that team a second there. We'll move on to this. So this is the team in possession of the ball. This is how Newcastle typically defend. If we're defending against a big team, we'll kind of deploy a low block. So you've got Livramento playing his right back role. If you've got an opposition player, just say come in here. And you've got one here. You've got Alanga, who will take the number 2 down the outside. If number 1 tries to make a run, you've got Livramento here. But ultimately, you've got a support of Howe. You've got support of Ramsey. Now that's kind of how Newcastle United set up. Can I delete them? Them men? No? Okay, let's just move them to the side then. We'll use them as dummies. So yeah, that's kind of how I think Newcastle... Well, I know that's how Newcastle United kind of defend. So it's a good setup. Obviously, the only thing is, if we do get a counter-attack, maybe he's not got the pace to boom, get away. But what he can do is, if he gets the ball here, he can hold up the ball. And you can have these two bombing on. If them two can bomb on, then you can score goals. And Even they can hold up the ball a bit. When they're running down, Baltimore gets a chance to get at least here, or even get here with a bit of support. So there's pros and cons to this setup playing Baltimore up front, because if we do get a break and the ball goes to Baltimore, because Baltimore with defending, he's going to be here. He likes to get stuck in, he's going to be here. But again, if the ball goes to Alanga or Gordon on the counter attack, or Lewis Hall who can quickly spray it out, or even go forward himself, and Baltimore's here, then we're in a dangerous situation, aren't we? Because you'd imagine if they're going forward, they've probably got a few players here, and if we can break through the line, then great. And you've got, obviously, Ramsey will be looking to support, Bruno will be looking to support, Tonali might support, but he's probably going to sit back. But ultimately, you've got Lewis Hall, Livramento, who can bomb on. Now, if we can get a counter attack and centre backs push up, this starts to look a bit dangerous, this attack. So I do think the way we're set up is right. I just don't think we're playing the right personnel, and I think we're a bit on the beach at the moment, Newcastle players, to be honest with you. I don't think we're fully at the races. I don't know why that is, but it definitely needs to improve. But again, as I just quickly set this back up, I mean, we know what to expect defensively, because we've had the best defence in the league in the 22-23 season. We literally had the best defence in the league. So we've proved defensively this shape, what you're seeing right now, works. Bear in mind we had Isak, who scored a lot of phenomenal goals. Maybe some of the stuff Baltimore can't do, but Baltimore offers a different profile where you can hold up the ball, you can put amazing passes in. You can see against Bournemouth the pass he slotted in to score a goal in the FA Cup. So Baltimore can do a lot of good things that Isak can't do. There's pros and cons to everyone's game, as I say, but this defensive shape definitely works. Now, I've already made a board for going forward. Now, this is how I expect Newcastle United, if we're playing at home, say, or if we're going forward. Now, this is how I expect Newcastle to operate. So, you can see here the two centre-halves. You've got Botman and Chow. I expect them to sit here. They're not going to come here or there, unless we're at a corner. You've got Tonali, who sits here. He can mop up any unwashed work. If Botman gets caught out, Tonali will make that cover and run, both sides. Or if you need to quickly make an interception, he can. Or if Ramsey sits back, or Ramsey's back, Tonali might have the opportunity to go forward. So Tonali will just sit nice on that centre circle. Now, with Livramento, obviously I did show you previously he can go down here, but I think he's better inverted. He can come in here. If he comes in here, it gives Alanga the license to kind of operate this whole pocket of space by himself. If he does, you're probably going to have to need Bruno coming here, Livramento coming inside. So Bruno offers a bit of support for Alanga. Maybe Alanga passes to Bruno, makes a run. He comes inside the ball, Valtmar's there, so a lot of options there. But Livramento will pretty much operate here. So let me just drop this back a second. Now Ramsey, as I was saying before, Ramsey can operate going back and forwards, but Ramsey I like going forward. He can pick up a ball, he can overlap because he's played on the left, he can come inside, he can sit here, he can pop a shot. So that's why I kind of like Jacob Ramsey. Good player, and I think him and Bruno will operate really well together. Now, in terms of Lewis Hall, as I said, explained, he can come back and forward, put the ball in the box, come inside, so we don't really need to chat about him. Now, I would operate a front three like this. I think if we sell Livramento in the summer and get like a Coyote, you can bomb on here. It's very attacking this, but you've got Hall bombing on here. And then you've got these two, Alanga and Gordon, playing close to the striker. It's only going to benefit Nick Baltimore, because Alanga can hold the ball. Like, just say Ramsey puts the ball to Baltimore, he can hold the ball up, slide a pass through to Gordon. Gordon's got a chance on goal, or he's got the chance for Alanga to put the ball in the back of the net. This is what Baltimore's going to do. Or ultimately, if you've got these two playing here, defenders might get sucked into trying to mark Gordon and Alanga, because they think, oh, that's their attackers. Livramento or Hall puts the ball in the box, Baltimore comes in, boom, it's a goal. So I think in possession, I think this is kind of the way Newcastle will set up. You could even be a bit more defensive if you wanted. You could kind of do this if he has a change in system. If he buys a number 10, you could have this. But again, I still think this is very right-sided heavy. But again, these three here can definitely do this role. Now, will he be here in summer? I'm not quite sure. But going forward, this is how I would run Newcastle United with this team without summer signings. This is how I would set up for the final 6 games of the season. This is how I'd like Newcastle United to set up. Now, going to this team, this is... check this one was... yeah, this team here is the team I expect Newcastle United to go with. Again, I'm recording this on the 17th of April. This is the team I expect Newcastle to go out with on the 18th of April against Bournemouth at home. Now, Bruno's back in training, so I fully expect Bruno to start. Lewis Hall, Livramento pick themselves. Gordon and Alanga, for me, pick themselves. Miley, I mean, I would start Ramsey, but I think this is what I think Eddie Howe will pick. Now, Asula's just scored a goal. I think he's going to play. So, again, I think this team is solid, but I don't know against Bournemouth. I don't know if we'll win or not. But, again, I would like to see Voldemort up front. I think he could show what he's about against Bournemouth. But this team, ultimately, Asula is a press monster. So, at home, if Bournemouth got the ball, this is how I'm expecting. To say Bournemouth with a goal kick. This is how I'm expecting Newcastle to line up against Bournemouth. If there's a... Basically, this is how I'm expecting us to line up. If they've got a goal kick. Obviously, we're at home. We're not going to play defensive at home. We're going to play high. We're going to try and press high, win the ball high, force mistakes and score goals. Now, this is how I expect Newcastle to set up tomorrow against Bournemouth. It's still a 4-3-3, but as I said, very high. You're going to have, if they play the ball there, you're going to have Gordon in, Asula come in, you've got Alanga here. And then obviously you've got the support of Bruno and Miley behind. If the ball gets through Bruno and Miley, if they play through the lines, you've got Tonali mopping up. But again, you've got Livramento who can come here. Chow can cover here. Over the ball can go straight through. You've got Livramento coming back, come inside. You've got Lewis Hall bombing him forward and backwards as well. You can get the ball here. You can pick up the ball here and run here. You can do everything. So that's how I expect Newcastle to line up against Bournemouth. So we don't really need to talk about that much. As I said, I would change a few bits, but I don't need to say anything now. Now we're looking at a team that Eddie Howe deployed this season in a game where I think he got it totally wrong. And the reason why I think he totally got it wrong is because he had three strikers on the bench, but opted to play Anthony Gordon up front. And it did work a little bit, but not against great teams like in the Champions League against Karabakh. Like, of course, it's going to happen. But he played Voldemort is a centre mid. Now, Voldemort is not a centre mid. Defence, can't fault the defence. Livramento was injured, so Trippier had to play, so I can't fault this. Midfield, obviously Bruno has to play, Tonali has to play, but no. If he's available, he plays on the left, and I don't care. You paid 55 million for Wissa. You paid a record fee for Voldemort. You've got Asula. So for me, this team should have been going on the left, but I could understand if the team was like this. Let me just quickly line it up. I could understand if we kind of... Oh, let me go back a second. Bruno there. Tonali there. Voldemort kind of there. Gordon there. Langa there. And just say Wissa. We'll use Wissa, for example. I could understand this, right? So, if we're going forward with the ball, I could understand kind of this, right? And there has been some games where he's played 10, but he's just kind of just sat here. Where if he's playing 10, I expect him here, getting involved, playing off each other. Even like this at times. Like, this is what I expect. If we're going to play Voldemort in a midfield 3 or a 4-2-3-1, this is what I expect. But that's not what we're getting. So this Voldemort midfield obsession has to go. Now, we will not play midfield against Bournemouth tomorrow because we'll run all over him tomorrow, so that's not going to happen. But I don't think Voldemort will play. As I said, the team I would like to see tomorrow would be this team, but I'm not going to see that team tomorrow because Asula's going to play up front. As I showed you here, this is going to be the team that starts tomorrow, in my opinion. Again, I'd rather see Miley, Tonali, Bruno, Joelinton, Willock, Ramsey in the midfield over Voldemort. Unless he's playing as a out-and-out number 10 or number 9. I don't care. That's how I see Newcastle United going forward. So, let's go back to full calm. So, as I said, Newcastle, we've played fast, aggressive, direct. We've been a hard-working team over the past years. And right now, I don't think we're aggressive. I don't think we've got that nasty side anymore. I don't think we're fast. I don't think we're being direct, and I think at times we've been hard working in big games, but in little games against Palace, we haven't been hard working at all. So I think kind of the weakness and the criticism, the frustration from my side of things this year has been team selection. We can look predictable against low block teams. We can't break them down. There's a heavy reliance on physical intensity, so fatigue's going to play a massive part. And then that leads to squad depth becoming a problem during injuries or busy schedules like Champions League, having deep runs in both cup competitions this year. So the call to action is, what do you think Newcastle should do? Should Newcastle stick with Eddie Howe? Obviously, I've listed a few points in the video there. What I would do, personally, I would keep him. To get to that point, I would keep Eddie Howe. I think he's proven already he's the man to do this job. But do you stick with Howe long term? Or do you start considering other options? Iraola's coming to free in the summer. Or do you stick with Howe? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. As I said earlier, it would be an honour for you to join this channel for more football content. And in the famous last words, I'll see you in the next one.